Why did Texas A&M students put their diplomas in their car windows?
Why?
So they can park in the handicap zones. I grew up in Oklahoma, so the Aggies who we attacked were the OSU Aggies, but same basic joke, just a slightly different target. Apropos of nothing, did you all hear that Bill Gates bought the Seattle Times this morning? Yeah, he buys it every morning. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to tell jokes. I'm in Texas. I'm not going to convince any of you to go vegetarian. But so far I'm making you laugh, so that's even better. So yeah, as I said, I grew up in Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma, like Texas, the idea of asking, is eating meat ethical, is sort of like asking, is breathing oxygen ethical? You know, what else are you going to breathe? What else are you going to eat? And in Oklahoma, on the football team, kind of the two food groups were McDonald's and Dairy Queen. And if they didn't sell it at McDonald's or Dairy Queen, we kind of didn't eat it. And I got to a small liberal arts granola crunchy school, a lot more granola crunchy than the University of Texas, which is where I went to college in Grinnell, Iowa. And when I got there, I joined various groups that were working on progressive causes, and the people who ran those groups, even then, back in 1987, they were vegetarians and vegans. And they were vegetarians and vegans for ethical reasons that had nothing to do with animals. They were vegetarians and vegans for environmental reasons and for human rights reasons, predominantly. And the case that I'm going to try to lay out for you in 10 minutes is that if you care about the environment, or you care about the global poor, or you care about animals, if you care about any of these things, that in fact the only ethical diet, the only diet that jives with the principles you already hold, is a vegetarian diet, for any of those three reasons. So, vegetarianism challenges us to take Socrates seriously. When Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living, vegetarianism challenges us to examine our lives and ask ourselves where the food we come from, where the food we eat comes from. And the first reason why, once we start asking that question, we should choose vegetarian foods is the environmental one. This is the one that did it for me in the first place. The simple fact that the vast majority of the calories that we feed to a farmed animal, the animal expends simply existing. You know, all animals are like human beings. I weigh about 185 pounds. If I do nothing but lay in bed watching American Idol or Dancing with the Stars, I'm going to burn about 2,000 calories a day. And except when, vegan Pamela Anderson is up there and I'm cheering her on! And it'll kick up just a little bit and I'll burn a few more calories. The same principle applies to farmed animals, right? Not that they watch hideous television, but that the vast majority of the calories that we feed to a chicken or a pig or a cow, the vast majority of those calories the animal expends simply existing. So that it takes about 20 calories fed to a chicken or a pig in the form of corn or wheat or oats, animal feed, to get 1 calorie back out in the form of that animal's flesh. How many people here would go to your refrigerator, open it up, take out 20 plates of pasta and dump them in the trash? There are usually a few people with, beef it's what's for dinner t-shirts on, and they go, yeah! But nobody in this audience is a taker. But essentially, each time you choose to eat meat, that's what you're doing. You're not personally dumping the food in the trash, but you're paying somebody to do that for you. You're engaging in a relationship wherein, for every calorie of meat you consume, 20 calories is essentially flushed down the toilet. 20 calories go into just keeping that chicken alive, or producing bones, or blood, or feathers, something that you're not going to eat. And once we crunch the numbers, what we find is it takes about 20 calories into an animal to get 1 calorie back out. 20 times as much food, basically. 20 times the calories, 14 times the water, and 25 times the land. Environmentally speaking, it makes no sense. And for those of us who are attempting to lead more environmentally responsible lives, this alone, the fact that every time you choose to eat meat, you're essentially throwing away 20 calories for every calorie you consume, this alone would make it an ethical imperative for those of us who care about the planet to adopt a vegetarian diet. Livestock's long shadow, they crunched the numbers, UN scientists, agricultural economists at the United Nations, and they said that eating animals is one of the most significant contributors to the most serious environmental problems at every scale from local to global. Eating animals contribute to problems of land degradation, climate change, and air pollution, water shortage and water pollution, and loss of biodiversity. And eating animals is the #1 source of global warming, causing about 40% more global warming than all of the cars, planes, trucks, all forms of transport combined. So you take this vast inefficiency and you apply it to the global food system, and what you find is our dependence, our desire to eat meat, causes people in sub-Saharan Africa to starve to death. Greenpeace unveiled what is probably the world's largest banner ever in the history of activism. It says, KFC, Amazon criminal. And it's because the Amazon rainforest is being chopped down to grow soy to feed to farmed animals. A couple of years ago, the UN Special Envoy on Food called biofuels a human rights crime because about 100 million metric tons of corn and grain is being put into biofuels every single year. Well, at the same time, 1 billion people are starving, and about 40 million of them do starve to death every single year. The same UN report, though, found that about 758 million metric tons of grain and corn is being fed to chickens and pigs and cattle and other farmed animals. And about 97% of the 228 million metric ton soy crop is also fed to farmed animals. 97% of all soy grown globally, not turned into tofu or boca burgers, fed to farmed animals. 97%. So it's basically a human rights crime, causing people to starve, causing the price of cereal grains to go up to a tune of about 10 times that of biofuels, and causing people to starve. If you care about the global poor, a vegetarian diet. Again, moral imperative. I want to show just about a few moments of a video that I hope you will watch all of at meet.org. It's the one that was mentioned in the introduction. It's Alec Baldwin's Meet Your Meat.
What you are about to see is beyond your worst nightmares. But for animals raised on modern intensive production farms and killed in slaughterhouses, it is cold, inescapable reality. Once you see for yourself the routine cruelty involved in raising animals for food, you'll understand why millions of compassionate people have decided to leave meat off their plates for good. Chickens are probably the most abused animals on the face of the planet. They are crammed into filthy sheds by the tens of thousands, immersed in their own excrement among the corpses of other birds who died of heart attacks or stress. Some even die of starvation brought on by becoming crippled from growing so large, so fast, that their legs can't withstand the weight, which makes them unable to reach food. After being genetically manipulated and fed antibiotics to promote unnaturally rapid growth, their hearts, lungs, and legs often break down under the added weight.
All of that is standard agricultural practice. All of that is more than 99% in that case of chickens who are raised for food in this country. There we go. Percy Bysshe Shelley, in explaining his vegetarianism, he said, "I want no part of anything I can't write a pleasant poem about." I like that as a concept. I want no part of anything I can't write a pleasant poem about. I can't personally write a pleasant poem about anything. I'm not a poet. But you can take that concept and extrapolate it as an ethical principle to perhaps say something along the lines of, we shouldn't pay other people to do things for us that we wouldn't do personally, unless there's a really good reason. Now, I don't think anybody in here, and I doubt that Kenny and Drew are going to contend that eating meat is necessary for health. In fact, all of the evidence indicates that, in fact, vegetarians are healthier than meat eaters. So people eat meat because they like the taste, which I don't think is a really good reason when it's weighed against animals having their beaks seared off with a hot blade, chickens, Animals being bred and drugged to grow so quickly they can't walk naturally, poop in their own excrement for their entire lives.